Well, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Imani.
I'm Jay Bernard.
And we are Progressively Yours Health and Wellness Podcast, as well as Sankofa Institute for Wellness. And we'd like to welcome our viewers to another exciting episode of our podcast. It's going to be wonderful, like it always is. We hope everyone is having a good beginning of the week and staying positive. There's a lot of stuff in the air, and if you stay glued to the news on TV, you get worried and scared and all of that. And so turn off the news. Don't stay connected to it like that, because it's designed to make you fearful and take you off of your course and take you out of your power. You know, I still say if we keep our vibration as high as we can, then it will really reverberate around the world and impact others who are struggling and coping with lots of tragedy and death and illness right now and loss. So let's stay positive. Let's balance out the energy however we can to make a difference.
Yeah, that's a good point. That one of my clients had a wonderful saying today. I just can't remember exactly what it was to quote him, but it had in essence to do to stay focused on your center, on the area in which you have control. Outside of the area in which you have control, you will be just frivolous. You will be all over the place and unable to stay centered. But if you stay centered on your light-given task in your environment, you're offering to others, then that reverberates throughout. So stay in your center in the midst of all that's happening around the world.
Absolutely. And so that's a good segue into our spiritual vitamin.
Thank you. Yeah, I look forward to this part of our show. And tonight I want to do something slightly different. The spiritual meditation will be in the sounds of one of the bowls that I have in my office that I use during sessions. And so I had one of my clients who watched the show who asked, he said, "Bernard, do you have a bowl that you strike on your show?" And I said, "Yeah, I have a little small one." And he said, "But I know, but I don't get the reverberation that I get from the one in the office." So I decided yesterday when he brought that to my attention to bring one. I have three. So I had a couple that I was working with just before coming home to do the show, and I struck all three. I said, "Pick one." And they all pointed to the one that I'm going to share with you. So for our meditation, I'm going to strike this bowl, and I'll show it to you afterwards, 3 times. And so whatever you're doing, if you want to participate, I'd like for you just to sit comfortable, close your eyes, because I really want you to listen to the frequencies, and a lot of frequencies to connect with your brain frequencies, and listen to the reverberation as long as you can hear it. So that means you really got to tune in to listen. And also notice what you feel in your body and keep breathing. All right. Close your eyes, get still, take in 3 breaths, and listen. as we pay homage to the ancestors, the vibrations of our spirits with theirs. The manifestation of our light in the world. Ashe.
Ashe.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bernard.
It's still going. I don't know if you can
is.
hear it, but I'll show you what this one looks like.
I like it.
This is a very old gong bowl. If you can see the indent, the molding and how it is shaped and the contours. It tells the age. And so I don't know the exact year. It's made by hand, and
that's nice.
It's one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, and that's so grounding, and it's really, we talked about kind of getting back to our center and getting back on our path, and certainly sound vibrations can do that and can help us to do that. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're going to move forward with our show and talk a little bit about our guest and introduce her. We met Tabetha House recently in Virginia. We were visiting a good friend, Linda Goss, her birthday. I hope she's watching. Beautiful person. And at Linda's birthday celebration, a couple of us were invited to read our poetry and share our gifts, whether it was singing or speaking or reciting poetry. And this young sister got up and she just stood in her power and started sharing some of her poetry. And I was like, wow. The first thought was, we have to have her on the show. And I told her that evening because it was very just beautiful, beautiful words. Tabetha House is a Virginia native and Old Dominion alumni. Tabetha House is a humanitarian through her life experiences with an emphasis on anti-violence. She is an author of Ouroboros, a healing book of poetry, and a partner of Samaritan House, a nonprofit organization that assists individuals escaping domestic violence, human trafficking, and facing homelessness in their community. Tabetha uses her poetry for a purpose, to connect our hearts through vulnerability and acceptance. I'd also like to read the back of her book because that gives you a little bit more of who she is. The author of this book, Tabetha House, again, the book is Ouroboros, and she will explain what that means and all of that when we start sharing with her. She is a courageous dreamer. The beach has always been a calming place for her, so living in Ocean View has guided her into finding a passion in writing. She is also the founder of House Healing, a vision of connecting our hearts through vulnerability. Tabetha's emotions have evolved into sharing inspirational messages and art through House Healing in efforts to spread love and acceptance. Now you can see why we fell in love with Tabetha. So Tabetha, come on up and join us, please. Hi there.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for those kind words. I'm sitting here smiling so big.
Oh, well, you should be. You should be. You're just that ray of sunshine. So we're glad that you're here with us. Thank you.
You're welcome, and it's good to be with you again. And as Imani was whispering when we were at the party, at Linda's party, she said, "Got to have her on the show." I said, "Yeah, this is always how you find a wonderful guest." And so, yes, we got to have her on the show. So we were so delighted, and we're honored that you are with us because part of our vision, part of our mission, part of our value system is that healing takes place in so many facets, and poetry is just one of those avenues in which can touch the heart of many. So we look forward to you sharing your work with us tonight. But before we get into that, I'm curious in knowing, and for our listening audience primarily, as you tell us a little bit more about your person, share with us briefly, when you look back at your life from age 0 to 12, growing up, free associate with us by just whatever comes to mind. We're not looking for anything in particular. Tell us a story or two about your life when you think about that time period in your development.
So the first thing that came to my head was my nanny. And when I say nanny, she's my grandma, but she has always been too young to be grandma. So always nanny. And I mean, the first memory that just pops in my head would be at her house. There was this really big, we called it an umbrella tree. I don't know if that is the correct name of it, but it was a massive tree in her backyard that fell over into this umbrella with its branches and its leaves. And me and my sister would play underneath of the umbrella tree. And it was empty underneath of the tree, but we had such an imagination running through it. And this area over here was, the kitchen, and this area over here is the bedroom, and over here's the living room, even though it was all in our imagination. And my grandma, she really encouraged us to always dream. And she would always say, or she does always say, she's still in my life. And she says, believe in the magic, never stop dreaming, and believe in the magic. And as I get older now, and I think back to that age of 0 to 12, I go, that magic, it's in us. It's the energy, it's the love, and, believe in that. So I say nanny and the umbrella tree.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. You have siblings? You mentioned sister. Do you have others?
Yep, I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers. So,
and where are you in that number?
I am the second oldest, but the middle of the 3 girls. And then, so me and my brothers have about a 10 and 11 year age gap. So growing up in childhood, I was the middle of the 3 girls. And then by the time I was in middle school, I had got my 2 brothers.
Okay. Wow. Beautiful.
Nice.
Beautiful. Just tell us also a little bit about your background, education, how did you get established?
Yep. So I grew up in Chester, Virginia, which is right outside of Richmond. All of my family is there. My grandma, my mom, my dad, my siblings, some cousins. And I grew up there. I cheerleaded my entire life and always have been a writer, always journaling, and just graduated high school. And then I remember asking my mom if I was allowed to go to college, because nobody else in my family has ever been to college. So I just remember that, I don't know, it felt, kind of like that sudden, these other people are talking about school after high school. What is all this about? And so I asked permission, and my mom said, yeah, I think we can figure it out. And so after that, I was at my guidance counselor's office every single day, junior year, every single day. I say, what do I do next? What do I do next? And ended up applying to Old Dominion University because it was, a little further away from home, but it wasn't that far away from home, about an hour and a half. There's the beach, but they also had a cheerleading team that I wanted to try out for. And then they had dental hygiene. And I worked 2 jobs throughout high school, which was in grocery. And then also I was a floating dental assistant. So I wasn't a chairside dental assistant, but I worked in a dental office. That introduced me to what dental hygiene even was, as we didn't have consistent dentistry growing up. So I didn't really know what a dental hygienist was, but was introduced to that field. And I really liked that they kind of had their own autonomy and they got to build relationships with patients, but they didn't have the full responsibility of a dentist. So anyways, that was another big factor in Old Dominion. And then, yep, applied there. I ended up going to Old Dominion. I cheered there from 2014 to 2018. I was in the dental hygiene program from 2016 to 2018 and graduated there. Was a roommate for about 5 years, a little bit of everywhere around Virginia Beach. Back home to Chester just to be a little closer to family. I wanted to be, a good influence on my brothers and kind of show, lead by example. And then the apartment that I was living in it ended up getting broken into many times while I was there. And I looked at that finally as a big sign from the universe that said, Tabetha, your time Chester is to move on. And then I put energy into buying my house and it unfolded so well. And now I've been in Norfolk in Virginia since March of 2022. And then from then, that's been a lot of being able to be stable and having a home and being in stability. That is really when I got to do more writing and the book evolved and all of these endeavors have gone on since then. So I feel really special with how things have unfolded in my life.
That's amazing.
Amazing. Thank you.
Guess what? I was the captain of the cheerleaders in high school. Well, let me see. The junior varsity team and the varsity team.
Yes.
Head into something, I go like all the way. So
that's it. Yeah.
I love cheerleading. Well, for me it was a sport, so it was just exercise
it's definitely full body. It's a lot of agility, strength, balance. It's a team sport. You can't do, stunts on your own. You can't learn tumbling on your own. I mean, not with technique at least, but cheerleading has been a really big part of my life. And it makes sense that you were a cheerleader too, with your leadership and passion, positivity.
Right. No, it was great. I don't know if we did as much tumbling and stuff as you're talking about. I think ours was pretty simple back in high school, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Cheerleading has evolved. I will say that it's even different than when I did it. And that was 5 years ago.
That was a lot more than 5 years ago, but too much information.
But
it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So tell us about your book. Let's get right into Ouroboros.
Yes, I have a copy of it too, right here with me.
Explain the title to us and the inspiration.
So Ouroboros, it's a symbol. So if you look at the book cover, I'll show it on here. It's actually a snake eating itself. Ooh. So I know it has this eerie perception to it, but when you look at the cover, it's very beautiful with the pinks and the whites, and there's floral and flowers and stuff. The reason why I chose that, the name Ouroboros in that symbol is because that is very historic. If you look into Greek mythology or Egyptian symbolism, even in science like alchemy, it really shows up as this ending and beginning, or this, like in alchemy, it's turning metals into gold. It's again, like it represents infinity. So it's a lot of like reincarnation, whatever your belief system is, it really kind of lines up with it. So a lot of interpretation with it, but I see it as an ending and a beginning. And so in the book itself, it's broken into 3 parts, which is breaking, understanding, and healing. And to me, that is a representation of life. Because no matter what phase we're in, there's some breaks, there's some understandings, there's some healings, and it might not go in that order, but I believe that we are always learning and growing and ending something, ending a phase or ending a part of ourselves that, doesn't serve us anymore, ending relationships that might not serve us, but there always comes new understanding or learning from that to grow or heal. So It's a really big
I love
concept.
it.
Well, you
I
know,
love it.
that symbol, the symbol
Yeah.
is deeply spiritual.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Carl Jung said that the
Yes.
circle is the most important symbol, based on what you just shared in terms of the completion. There's the alpha and the omega. You know, there's a start and there's an ending, and the circle shows us that. The snake, interestingly, one of my clients was in a dream that she shared, and the snake was in the dream, and it was a he, and he was chasing the snake, and one of the other members looked up the meaning. And so the spiritual awareness of and the symbol of snake, one in a way, is it represents wisdom. You know? And so the fact that you got the snake in a circle representing wisdom is very spiritual formation that I suspect is in the pages of your poetry.
And it also, what it meant for me was also transformation. You know, constant growing. You know, the circle of life, like you said, relationships end, but we take the wisdom with us. You know, as we move forward. You know, one of the things Bernard and I talk about is learning love. You know, really, you know, learning ourselves, but also learning what it means to really love. You know, and that's something that changes as we evolve through life. You know, we take the lessons and the wisdom with us. So I love the title. Let's get into the book. I was flipping through it, and each one I read, I was like, wow, that's so deep. I read the next one. Wow, that's so deep.
I always have been a very deep person, just by nature, and very sensitive. And I thought that wasn't so good growing up because I'm always over here feeling so much, which is, you know, where all the journaling came in. But as I've grown, I'm like, no, I love that about myself. And what I find is I love people who I can connect deeply with. Just like with you know, meeting at Linda's, it was like instant connection because we were able to have those deep conversations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us one of your favorites from the book or whatever you want to share, because it's filled with a lot of really nice pieces.
Okay. So one of my favorites is called You Decide.
Can you read it?
Yes.
Well, do you know it by heart?
I probably know it by heart, but just in case, I'm going to look up what page it's on. Yep, it's in Understanding on page 27. Something else with the book when we were talking about the snake. You know, the snake sheds its skin. So it sheds its old skin to become new again. So again, with the book, the snake is just continuously shedding its old skin and becoming new. So much.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So you decide. Isn't she beautiful? Her water falling so politely. She is graceful in her essence of power. Do you think she is majestic? Do you think she is psychotic? To me, she flows with grace, yet so much power. Is she resilient or is she determined, giving herself to the inevitable? You have to choose which way to flood. Some may choose to flood in fear. She chooses to flood in love. And that's You Decide.
You decide. I love that. I love that. Who is the she?
Myself.
Okay.
Speaking kind of third person, kind of in that state of when you are being the observer of your own mind, you know, kind of watching your own thoughts, watching your own actions, and, you know, watching yourself. And so a part in there that the reason why I love that poem is, do you think she's majestic or do you think she's psychotic? To me, she flows, you know, with grace. and power, because it is this little yin and yang, and some people might not understand the passion and they just go, oh, she's crazy. But on the other hand, it's like, no, that's powerful or beautiful. So interpretation.
Yeah, well, let me just say this one part. I have a friend who used to end his emails or, whatever messages he'd sent. And it said, or it's better to understand than to be understood. Because this person this was when I was working at CDC. And I know, and he was a very deep thinker, and people did not understand him at all. They did not get him. And he knew people did not get him. They reacted to him. And so I just kind of observed, from a distance,
Yeah.
The whole thing of not everyone's going to get us.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I'm really, I'm sitting with that myself lately, is being comfortable with being misunderstood. It used to be more triggering for me because I would go, how do you not see what I'm seeing? Or how are you not understanding? And to me, I'm like, that's so simple. But I'm realizing nobody's the same. And that's what makes us all beautiful in our own ways. So being able to sit with, I might not be understood by everybody. So like what you said, but to understand, I think that's powerful.
I want to share on that note one that I like, and I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on page 31 of your text.
Be you.
It's entitled, Be You. When I am completely me, I feel so free and misunderstood. Who could know someone like I wish they could? I'm still trying to learn my own self. I grow bigger and bigger while the world shrinks. Be you.
That's not the rest of it.
Is empathy?
Yeah, that's all.
Oh, okay.
Empathy is a trigger. Yeah.
Empathy is a trigger. The more I feel, the less they can deal. Aren't we all just trying to heal? Be alone in inventing, kind of exciting, and a little despairing. I take myself away from the judgment, and I feel myself with enlightenment. I feel so free. Then the eyes reappear, and I disappear. Be you. How do you respond to that particular poem? Because it reminds me of what we have in your introduction of one word, and that word is vulnerability.
Vulnerable, yes. Yeah, it goes very similar to the just being misunderstood. And I remember right before I wrote that poem, I was having a conversation with two people, and I was having this, a very passionate conversation about chakras and about the alignment and what each energy center holds. And I was really excited about it because I just learned something new. And one of the people I was sharing with was a very curious person. So they were asking me the questions and they wanted to know more, as they don't involve themselves a lot in like an energy sense. So for her to be curious about it made me so excited to share what I just learned. And then the other person was writing it off as a joke and being very sharp with it and kind of cutting it off and just go, oh, come on. And then asking those questions that were not out of curiosity, but a little gaslighting. And then you go, get flustered and you go, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go to the different room. And I really shut down. I got my feelings very hurt, as, again, very sensitive person. I didn't know how to take those types of questions, as I'm still trying to learn my own self. Like the poem says, I'm still trying to learn my own self, and this empathy of feeling so much for others and wanting to share. And all these things. I did, had a moment of just a lot of tears and sorrow of feeling misunderstood. And why do I think this way? And, if I can't explain something, then does it even mean I know what this is? And then I ended up writing that poem out of that emotion. And then, it helped me feel better about it, to go, okay, this is what I wanted to express. This is how I feel. Misunderstood and shut down and very triggered. So, yeah.
I find also as a poet, writing, a lot of times I would write when I didn't understand what was going on, like around me. When things were just puzzling. I was in South Africa right before the election of Nelson Mandela, and you could cut through the air with a blade because there was so much tension. And we were also, I was there with CDC, and we were looking at the rise of HIV cases and stuff. So there was a lot going on. And I wrote some of my best poetry, just sitting by myself or riding on the bus or van with other people. And it was a way for me to process kind of what was going on. So I think I feel that in you, a way of processing the what just doesn't make sense in life.
Right. I can definitely relate to that so much. And, I think I feel really excited about the growth in my poetry. And just like what you mentioned, the being things that don't make sense and, wanting to be able to articulate it, but so much of it doesn't make sense. I find that writing through the poetry and just letting it come out, from the heart or out of, whether it's that frustration, the anger, the sorrow, the sadness, or the joy and the happy. But yeah, being able to express it is very powerful.
Yeah, that's a gift. That's a gift, and you do it really well. So,
thank you so much.
Excited. So, would you like to? I know you probably picked out a couple.
Yeah.
So, feel free, share another one with us if you don't mind.
So I have one poem. It's called Insurance. And I guess I won't explain the poem first. I'll go ahead and share the poem. But I will preface it by, my poems do come from life experience. So I'm putting my perspective into this poem. So the poem is called Insurance. I don't mean to question your intelligence, but aren't you a neuroscientist? Mothers, daughters, sons, fathers, and all of the community come here as a sanctuary. This massive building with the bright lights is intended to, from my understanding, save lives. Trust poured into the degree it took you years to complete. Yet it seems so mindless of you to watch our loved ones slowly fade away. Prescription bottles loaded to play drug roulette. Which one will be the course of action to keep us in the cold, sterilized bed? A cocktail of symptoms to treat the symptoms of the symptom of the radiology. You don't have to tell me how there are many factors. I know this is complex, but there is nothing new to this diagnosis. So I'll ask again, how much do you really know? Malignant cells making a meal to feast off of our internal body. Etiology shows there's no clear reason on how this toxic disease may grow, but that's not my question. When ER visits are the same cycle of CT scans leading to the tunnel of claustrophobia, specialists coming in to ask, how many stairs are at your home? As if that's the only risk. And now another endless written test. Did you even read the chart notes? These are the same questions we've been through, but it all still seems to be a surprise. Over a decade at the same location with the same doctors who all roll their eyes, when you say, "It's been a really hard time sleeping at night," yet you still prescribe a medication without any of the answers to my missed question? Do you ever consider prevention or someone's quality of life? What foods are you eating? Who are you surrounded by? Are you doing memory games? Maybe getting outside? Or does this public health insurance just not cover your price? And that's insurance.
It makes me think of so many things, having cared for both of my parents and seeing, the medical establishment. And I think it's just a thing with elders in particular, but not just to elders. There's certain regimens that are followed that don't seem to be very humane.
Right.
Very, very caring. Lots of questions. And it was always refreshing to find a doctor who really did seem to be empathetic and caring, because there are doctors like that out there. They're few and far between. Maybe, oops, I shouldn't say that, but I think they're just overshadowed by the theme.
Yeah, sometimes it seems to be, once you get kind of stuck in like a cycle, or, it's just an in and out type of visit, when really sometimes all people want to do is just be heard and be listened to, and maybe find an approach that if it's not working, maybe, just hear what are the other factors in their life, and what are some things that you could do lifestyle wise that could help your quality of life, or things along those lines. But that came from a place of frustration with just how my mom's healthcare was being handled. And I felt so much more liberated after being able to write that poem, because in the setting, I felt very shadowed, and that I wasn't able to be the advocate I wanted to be for my mom. And so after sitting with that frustration, that sadness, and then the anger, I was able to write the poetry and go, you know what? I'm not the only one who feels sometimes unheard when it comes to medical needs or things.
Right.
Because I know there are so many phenomenal doctors out there. I mean, so many phenomenal doctors, it is sometimes difficult to land them and be able to stick through with them or something like that.
Well, I know for me, at one point, my mom was hospitalized, and because of how she presented, it seemed like she might have had a small stroke at the time. And because of that, there are certain things that are automatically prescribed. And I was in her room in the hospital, and a nurse came in and she said, just chit chat. She says, okay, I'm going to give her a cholesterol medication right now. And I said, she doesn't have high cholesterol, so no, you're not giving that to her. And she looked at me like, huh, what? She was shocked. And then there was something else she wanted to give. I said, no, she doesn't need that either. And so she said, well, the doctor has this on the chart. And I said, tell the doctor I'd like to speak to him. We had a wonderful talk. And he was actually one of those very humane doctors. And he said, I feel like that we really don't need to over medicate, but there are certain things that are standard protocol. And he's got to write a note for why he went off of standard protocol. But he said he would do it because he understood what I was saying and the fact that she didn't need those things. So I was like, wow,
Yeah, two points to that. One, just his comment to you reveals to us how Big Pharma has their hand in how doctors can and cannot care. And that's where they get a lot of their direction from, even though they don't tell us that up front or at all. Second point is the importance of having an advocate when you
Yes.
need an advocate to speak for you when you are receiving care. And back to your word, you're in such a vulnerable place
Yeah.
that having an advocate to be there for you is crucial and critical in times of severe illness.
Mm-hmm.
Tabitha?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, like you said, the advocacy of it and being in the healthcare and, me in the healthcare field myself. And I feel really privileged to be a healthcare provider who has a whole hour with a person, and it's multiple times, throughout either the 1 year or even long term. And I guess that's where my bias comes in, where I go, you just listen, and you start understanding somebody as the person, and you're hearing, what their lifestyle is, or what their, main concern is, or what they're having, an issue or a pain with or whatnot. You go, oh, well, you also told me that, you are really stressed out at home, and whatever it might be. And then you go take a walk and take some breathing, and it kind of goes back into the meditations and, the, I guess it kind of goes into all the energy alignings too.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah,
I have a client, one of my clients is a physician. And a month ago, she was sharing with me, she came to a session and she started laughing. She says, for these past few weeks, I began to think that I was you. All my patients were coming in, and I found myself doing more listening to them and their suffering and their pain more than I was, giving
diagnosing and
medication and
treating. Yeah.
diagnosing. And she said, I'm just amazed at, the other emotional suffering and pain that's going on in my patients' lives. And I
Right.
just find it
Right.
just a blessing to be able to listen to them and
listen.
offer them some
Yes.
empathy. And she said, this is why I'm glad that I have you, so I can come and just move it all on you. So and we just
That's
laughed,
funny. Yeah.
So yeah, it's great that you're able to do that. I was a chaplain at one of the main hospitals here in Atlanta in a long-term care facility for about 5 years in the late 90s. And I can tell you, being able to provide a listening ear not only to the residents in that facility, but also to the staff who were just overwhelmed with taking in that energy for which they were not necessarily trained to do. And so those who work with the patients or residents sometimes are, and oftentimes are overwhelmed with the stress of trying to care for those that they care for, care for those that they're caring for. They need care themselves.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the whole, mind, body, spirit connection that I hear you both saying about the people that you're working with and the caregivers. One of the things that we do through Sankofa Institute for Wellness is to provide wellness workshops for organizations where people are helping people all the time. Like there's a big organization here that serves the hungry and the homeless and everything else. So they're constantly giving. And so we provide a space to, kind of help build them back up and build the energy back up. And it's such a powerful experience.
I know Bernard mentioned something about the emotional part of it too, when you are in these types of situations and maybe what type of emotional things are going on. And I think going back to like the poetry or other forms of art, to that is such a big part of the healing too, is having some sort of creative outlet or, something to be expressive too, kind of, back into like the poetry and stuff. I think that's a big part of health as a whole, that spiritual health and mental health, when that, has an effect on your physical health.
Yes.
We have a good friend who this visit. Well, she stopped in and visited with us on her way from Virginia to Florida, and she'll be back. But she does, Brigitte King, she does workshops on laughter workshops.
Oh, I love
So, she had done a workshop when I was running the education programs in the local county jail. She came and there was so much excitement and laughter and clapping and stomping and, and people are like, what's going on in 4A? just so much laughter and people need that as a release, so it's
Yes.
nice, as Bernard was saying, that, we each find our niche and work with it, and
Yep.
just do what we do best and share that with the world. And I think that's what drew us to you, because you're just such a spark of light. And
Thank you so much.
We have some comments. We have some Facebook comments.
Here's one. I'm taking a course for relaxation therapy, and my listening adaptation is surprisingly helping me as well. So just learning, I guess, to listen. Yeah. Listen better. And then poetry is a model, laughter, art as well. Yeah, exactly. So
the laughter, so true, for about a year, I was really good at it. Fell off a little bit, but now I write maybe like 4 times a week at nighttime before I go to bed. Mm-hmm. The first 3 things are what I'm grateful for. And that, as you do that practice of gratitude, it goes into 3 things, but then next thing you know, you're writing down every little thing that made you feel gratitude. But then I'll end it with what made me laugh today. That way I get to reflect on, when was I just smiling, giggling? If I can't think of something that made me belly laugh, it's at least that big smile where you go, well, I just have to smile and giggle or something. And again, the more you do that, the more you see it in your day to day. And then next thing you know, you could be laughing at, anything, with appropriateness, but it's like,
but it's that. One thing I learned from Brigitte, and then we had taken we had, been learning about laughter yoga for a while. And I learned that your mind doesn't know and your body doesn't know if you're really laughing or if you're just laughing for fake, So you start doing this laughter yoga stuff, and you're laughing and laughing and laughing, and your body is still getting the health benefits of laughing. And so that's so important. So
it's like training your body too. It's like, like you said, sometimes your body doesn't even know if you're really laughing or not, but it's training your body like, this feels good.
Still benefiting.
Benefiting. Yes, exactly.
So Tabetha, we're down to about 10 minutes. Do you have 1 or 2 more poems that you can read for the audience?
So I have a poem, and it is a very lighthearted poem, and it does make me laugh. So I think that's a nice little version on it. I don't have it memorized, but I do have it written in my phone. So I have a mentor in poetry, and in George Mendez. So when you watch this, and one of the things I told him in our mentoring, I said, I want to be able to write poems that aren't so not as sad or as sentimental, maybe something that's just something that's silly. And so after some of his pointers, this is the poem. It's called Perspective. Okay. Perspective. Separated by a fence and now the street. I know you oh so badly want to sniff that little butt when you guys finally meet. Our morning walks as the sun still rises. We pass by the same house and you get tortured by the broken promise. No, honey, it's not time to play. It's just potty time so we can start our day. Now this is perspective. Mom has awakened her eyes. The time is finally here. I get to explore the whole world of what they call outside. My tail can't stop shaking, involuntarily rocking my body from side to side. This is the moment I've been waiting for all night. When I finally can sniff that elegant bronze booty of my paw-crossed lover. Master Mom snaps me in so I can guide her to all the places where I may sniff. No hesitation on where we're going, I take her to my fluffy, fancy puppy. Locking eyes in between overgrown greenery of vines, mission is set on how I can finesse my head through this 8-foot metal encasement. Me and Fence keep circling back to this bone I have to pick. They continue to come in between me and my darling doggy Daydream. She quite literally means everything. I feel a nudge and now a tug. My master is speaking. She says I have smelled for long enough. Does she not see how close I am to touching that butt? Well, Mom knows me best, even though I cannot think of anything more important than going one-on-one with this ferocious Fence. I'll snarl one last growl, relax my ears and hair back down. Mom calls me the most handsome good boy as she follows me around. So any guesses on what perspective that might be?
Well, we're both doggy. Well, we have 2 dogs, and I've raised many dogs, and so I can definitely relate. You know, they
Yeah.
thing going on in their heads. We got this thing going. We're totally 2 different agendas altogether. It's like, let's get out there and let's get back in. Hurry up. I got stuff to do.
I know, come on.
And
So I love being able to play with the poetry too. And but like what we're saying, how laughter is just so essential to our well-being. Sometimes that poem will come up just to, keep things in that.
Good for you. Good for you. I like that. Because a lot of your stuff is deep and heavy, and it's okay, because it's like you said, it helps clear out gook, things that might not make sense, things that might have been painful. You write them down. It's like it's a release to write them down.
Yeah, I know in the beginning of the book, it goes through breaking, and that the breaking, was really, it was very vulnerable for me to put all of that out there with some stuff that is really personal, because a lot of times when you meet somebody, or you only get to see one side of them or one perspective. So if they see you down, or they don't see you as happy or as big, you go, I'm a human too. Like, I do have another part, but that's where I get to, come home or lay in the bath and feel the emotions. That way, when I do go back out into, our world and social settings, it's because I've cleared out all of that breaking and was able to put it into the poems. And, kind of back on connecting through the vulnerability, I was thinking this is going to be a really, big thing for me to do, to put all of this part of my heart out there and let people really see that vulnerable side, to hopefully encourage other people to, or, have them feel that you're not alone in these dark thoughts, and that darkness doesn't have to take over, but it will come, and, you feel it and you sit with it and let it be present, but then also let it flow out too, and get into that next phase of understanding or healing from it, or whatever it might be.
Yes. So as we winding down, I should say, we want you to hang around after the show finishes, and so I want to close. I flipped to this poem. It's just been reading to me, and I'm going to read it out loud as a way of preparing to close out. But I wanted to say thank you for sharing your gift to our listening audience, and just the energy with your sharing that you bring, the delight that has stimulated inspiration in all of us. So I want to just share this poem and let Imani have the last word after that.
And I was just going to ask our producer, Janet, to put your information up in case people want to purchase your book or follow up with you, just so that they know how to reach you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Anyway,
Yes.
see how this particular poem connects with our conversation tonight. It's entitled, it's in page 51 in your book. It's entitled Beginnings. So as the audience prepares to go out tomorrow on a new day, it's a new beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Tabetha writes, what's your vibe? Roll the windows down and just ride. Don't worry about the time. Keep your eyes open. You'll see the signs. Just keep driving. Life is so divine. Let the sun touch your skin. Take your hair down. Let it blow in the wind. The smell of a new day. Choose anything. Let life begin. Yes.
Yes. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And you're so welcome. And we look forward to having you back sometime in the future. And for all of you who listened tonight, we want to thank you. And I'm going to share my special bowl again. So listen as we close out this session.
Ashe.
It is indeed for the ancestors. Ashe. Namaste. Amen. Thank you, everyone.
All right. See you next week.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tabitha.